What I had feared has become reality, and despite my already low expectations, I'm extremely disappointed. To commemorate Moeka's birthday, Mages has confirmed that the new route being added in Steins Gate Reboot is a Gamma Worldline Moeka route, an adaptation of the Hyde of the Dark Dimension drama CD. I had said in several of my earlier videos that for all we know, Steins Gate Reboot could add little more than a 1 hour long Moeka romance route based on Hyde of the Dark Dimension. But wow, it seems they might literally be doing that, the outcome that so many of us feared. Mages had the greatest opportunity in the world to make something truly bold and ambitious. They could have made the entire game a balls-to-the-walls meta-sequel to Anonymous Code with a radically different plot from the original. Even with a conventional remake with most of the game being the same as the original, they could have made the additional route they announced something completely new. They could have done something interesting. But no, it's just adapting existing material we've had for over 15 years. It's been the same theme over and over with this game. Wasted potential. Don't get me wrong, I love Hyde of the Dark Dimension. It's one of my favorite pieces of Steins Gate side material, but I wanted something new. I wanted something that connected more with the massive implications set by Anonymous Code, not just a retread of existing content. If the game is barely offering anything new, what's the point? Why buy Steins Gate Reboot when you could just buy the original, which has more content, for much cheaper? And then just separately listen to Hyde of the Dark Dimension on YouTube. I'd find myself struggling to justify the $60 to $70 MSRP for the game. But interestingly, there may be more than meets the eye here. Steiner, who's translating Reboot, hinted in a tweet that this is not the Gamma Worldline that we remember, seemingly suggesting that this new route is not a conventional adaptation of the drama CD, and that there will be significant changes. How significant are we talking? We'll just have to see. But he has mentioned that despite Reboot being based off of Elite's script, it will have some additional scenes throughout the main story, and some new lines of narration to account for the loss of the animated visuals. So as he summed it up, it will be longer than Steins Gate Elite, but still shorter than the original game. But even from the little that's been revealed, there are some hints pointing towards there being more than meets the eye about the Moeka route. Spoiler warning for the Steins Gate subseries, by the way. There's some discrepancies between the story of Hyde of the Dark Dimension that we know and what's been shown about Reboot's version. For example, there's a difference in how long Mayuri has known Okabe for. In the Gamma Drama CD, Mayuri and Okabe were childhood friends who separated and reunited 3 years prior to the start of the story. But in Reboot, that's been changed to 6 months. More significantly, as per the official description, Okabe is in a world wherein Hoin Kyoma never existed, the time machine was never built, and there's no such thing as D-mails. As such, we don't see Suzuha around in the trailer. But Suzuha, D-mails, and the time machine are all integral parts of the original narrative in Drama CD Gamma. The whole plot revolves around Okabe sending a D-mail to undo what got them sent over to the Gamma Worldline. And part of what makes the stakes feel so high is Suzuha revealing that future Okabe is a member of the Committee of 300 and the dictator of Japan operating under the name of Hoin Kyoma. So that would have been the one part of the drama CD that could have connected more with the overarching SciADV narrative. For us to lose that, it's definitely not one-to-one with the original. Where could they take the story? I imagine most of it would still follow along what's done in the original Hyde of the Dark Dimension, but parts of the new premise seem slightly reminiscent of Lode Region of Deja Vu, and that is one story with massive connections to the rest of the overarching series. Do I expect that they'll do anything with it? No, but I would sure hope that they do something with ties to the wider series. Okabe's role in the Gamma Attractor field leaves room for some interesting topics. Way back in the day, fans would theorize that the Okabe we know originally came from a Gamma Worldline and then shifted over to the Beta Attractor field when he had that fever before Y2K. Maybe that theory will get confirmed or denied in Reboot. From a cross-series ties standpoint, there's obviously the Committee of 300 and the true nature of their existence. From this point onwards, I'll discuss full series spoilers for SciADV up to and including Anonymous Code. Okabe in Gamma is a high-ranking committee member, but the committee, if we're to believe whoever's typing from the terminal in the center route, doesn't actually exist in layer. Rather, the true Committee of 300 is from a higher world layer running, monitoring, and debugging the simulation. Anonymous code implies that the committee is the Gaia organization, which, with their 300 employees, operates Gaia, the Earth simulator that SciADV takes place in. So I think if they're keeping that aspect of the gamma attractor field intact, this route could have some potential if they end up taking liberties with it. In the first place, a lot of the advertising for Steins Gate Reboot has framed the game around connecting Steins Gate to future SciADV entries. The game's opening is littered with anonymous code related imagery, and even the game's ultra limited edition cover has these sorts of hints as well. It's entirely in monochrome, connecting it to the monochrome space that appears repeatedly throughout Steins Gate side material, which we know from anonymous code is beyond the lit region. We even have the Earth in monochrome in the corner, which I would think is a nod to Earth simulators. In 2010, a lot of them would be in active development at the time. 2010 is also the year that the Vatican get Kent Korihisa on board for developing Necro Pilgrimage. In series, we technically would have had Earth simulators even before then, with Noah 2. We also have a constant emphasis of mass energy equivalents, both on the cover and in advertising. Mass energy equivalents presumably shouldn't even exist past the worldline collapse, because that was something real booted into existence in the simulation by Einstein. And with the worldline collapse resetting every world layer in the simulation to parity with the topmost world layer, where Gigalomania does not exist, it would be hard to parse how any of this could work if post-collapse. So that begs the question, with Steins Gate Reboot being mostly a conventional remake, when exactly does it take place? Is it before the worldline collapse in the original continuity, or is it after the worldline collapse in the post-Gaia Reboot continuity? I wonder, if it's just going to be the same as the original, I'd honestly rather it be before the collapse at this point. It would give them a lot more room to do something different post-collapse. Please let me know your thoughts on the announcement of the new route. Personally, I feel a little bit frustrated that they're just adapting existing material. Even as this version of Hyde of the Dark Dimension does end up going differently as Steiner suggests, would it be so radically different and offer so much new material to justify the full price of the game? I have doubts. But hey, Mages has done similar sorts of things over and over with the Steins Gate IP. And Steins Gate fans still come out with their wallets. Half of Steins Gate Zero was an adaptation of existing side material. It's still sold like hotcakes. So I guess they're banking on being able to do something similar again. Getting all those people who want to go through Steins Gate for the first time all over again to spend their money over and over and over. As many times as they've made the same exact story, it seems as though to some, the last several attempts at this weren't enough. So here we are, the same exact story again. If people aren't interested in the other 99% of the storyline, milk the 1% to death, right? Next thing you know, they'll make a Steins Gate Zero reboot, but instead of combining the anime and visual novel routes into one package, they'll just keep it as the Zero visual novels content with the addition of Paradise Lost and Adaptive Radiation. That would be so cursed. But I think that the prospect of turning that drama CD into a proper route would have some interesting potential. After all, it was based off of the cut Fubuki route anyways. And Steins Gate Zero is a game that definitely does need a remake in my eyes. So in addition to a more fleshed out version of that drama CD, it would just generally be nice to have all the visual novel and anime routes in one package so you don't need to switch mediums to complete the story. Would Mages do something that's sensible though? I doubt it. But at least Steiner seems to believe that they'll eventually make a Zero reboot. So let's see. In any case, I'll keep you posted as more developments concerning the game come up, and I'll be sure to let you know my final thoughts on Reboot once it's actually out. Until then everyone, Bossman out.